Well, good morning and welcome to the Church by the Sea. I'm Reverend Barbara A. Singer, and along with my husband, Reverend Rob A. Singer, I want to welcome you here this morning. Hi, Rob. What do you got?
I have a puzzle.
Well, you're great at puzzles.
This is so hard, though.
Oh.
Every time I think I just about have it, it doesn't fit.
Okay, let me see. Oh, yeah, that's a really... I don't know how this works at all, but maybe we can work on this after worship.
Maybe if we just take a little breath, if we let in God's Spirit, maybe things will work out.
I'm sure they will. Let us now take a moment and take a breath and listen to the morning's prelude. Thank you so much, Manny. Please join me in this morning's invocation. We gather believing that with each morning, you are with us, God, and into slumber you are there. Today, as we seek to be closer to you, make the path clear as we trek to be by your side. Amen. I invite us all now to join together in singing this morning's opening hymn, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the spring. Sweet the rains will fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in complete. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's of rain. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's great
Thank you to our choir and to all of you that joined in. Again, Rob and I want to welcome you here this morning. If you have never visited us before, we have an expression in our community. We say that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are always welcome here, and indeed you are. After worship, please introduce yourself by calling our church office or emailing us, and Rob and I will get back to you and either talk to you by phone or email you. We have a variety of programs and events that occur all week, and there's more information listed on our website, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So follow us and find out more about the Church by the Sea. Well, this week I enjoyed a power luncheon. It was so invigorating, inspiring, and yet it was extremely challenging. And after, I did have to wash a lot of mud off my face. Well, actually off my face, my eyes, my hair, because I used a power washer to clean the driveway. Well, you might want to consider a more relaxing, yet still empowering luncheon. Now, perhaps maybe more than ever before, we need to care for ourselves. And so beginning Friday, October 6th at 1 p.m., the church will host a series of self-care lunch sessions. They are interactive Zoom sessions with several guest speakers who will offer their expertise in the areas of food, meditation, and happiness. We are very excited about this series, so sign up with the church office and join us for a different type of power lunch. No power washer is required. Well, speaking of happiness, let us listen as our choir sings, "Oh Happy Day."
Our first scripture reading for this morning comes from Psalm 119, verses 81 through 86. Let's open our hearts and our minds, our very spirits, to the Word and to the inspiration of God. My soul languishes for your salvation, O God. I hope in your word. My eyes fail with watching for your promise. And I ask, when will you comfort me? How long must your servant endure? When will you judge those who persecute me? The arrogant have dug pitfalls for me. They flout your law. All your commandments are enduring. I am persecuted without cause. Help me, O God. Here ends our first reading. Our second comes from the book of Exodus, chapter 14. As Pharaoh drew near to the Israelites, trapped at the shore of the Red Sea, the Israelites, they looked back at the Egyptians advancing on them, and in great fear they cried out to God and to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die here in the wilderness? What have you done to us?" But Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and see what God will accomplish for you today. For God will fight for you. You only have to keep still." Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night. The waters of the sea were divided and turned the sea into dry land. The Israelites went into the sea on that dry land, and the waters formed a wall on their right and on their left. The Egyptians pursued and went into the sea after the Israelites, all of Pharaoh's horses and chariots. But the chariot wheels, they got clogged and bogged down. The Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the Israelites, for the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." But the waters returned and covered the chariots. The entire army of Pharaoh that had followed them into the sea was crushed. Not a one of them remained. Here ends our reading. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Gracious God, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of our hearts and our minds, our very spirits, may these be acceptable, O God, in your sight, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, marathons and mountaintops, these are two things which just don't seem to mix very well. I mean, no marathon is ever run up a mountain, at least I hope it's not. And so you might think that this observation is not at all that insightful. But you'd be surprised at how often in our spiritual lives we confuse mountaintop experiences for the marathon, which is the living of a life of faith. Now, reading this morning, it sheds some light on this issue, this confusion between mountaintops and marathons. For example, the Israelites, they had a plan. They had a vision of escaping the slavery in Egypt and entering into the promised land, a land which was said to flow with milk and honey. But just after a few steps along this journey, they ran into what seemed at the time to be a literal dead end. The Egyptian army, it was pursuing and closing in from behind, and they were trapped at the shore of the Red Sea. They couldn't go forward, and they couldn't go back. And so their doom, it seemed, imminent. But what seemed to be their end became suddenly a beginning. For the sea that had trapped them, it divided. The seabed turned dry, and they walked right on through to the other side. Yet when the Egyptians pursued through the sea, it closed again upon them, crushing the whole Egyptian army. Finally safe, the Israelites rejoiced. It was for them a moment of awe and joy, a moment filled with God's presence and grace, a true mountaintop-like experience of the divine, a culmination of their long-held hope. Well, the Church by the Sea has experienced such things as well. One of our hopes began on St. Patrick's Day, back in 2010, a curious and auspicious date. For that was when the new church task force, it met for the very first time. And then, over the next 2 years, there was discussion. There was 2 years of planning and praying, negotiating, and 2 years of wrestling with God, with each other, and with the Bal Harbour shops. And then on June 3rd, 2012, it came to an end because the congregation, which had been about as divided as that Red Sea, came into miraculous unanimity, voting to exchange land with the shops and have them build a new church for us. It was a miraculous, momentous occasion, a joyous culmination of a long-held hope, albeit a far lesser one than the Israelites' escape from Egypt. But such mountaintop moments, they do not a faith make, for invariably they soon fade. It did so for the Israelites, and it did so for us too. For the Israelites, they soon realized the challenges of their desert realities, hunger and thirst. And soon after our vote, our promised land, literally the land promised for the new church, well, it became politically unattainable. Our joy then quickly turned into a desert-like marathon. For 3 more years, we made new plans for different church buildings at 5 different locations. And each time we made those plans with faith and excitement, each time we were convinced that we had the perfect solution, the perfect new way forward. Yet each of those 5 times the plan was rejected by the town. It started to feel like God had abandoned us, that all of our hopes and plans for now 5 years were dashed, leaving us to cry out, just like that psalmist, "How long, O God, must we endure?" Yet, in each inn we faced, there was a new beginning, and one more fantastic than the last. Which makes me wonder, is it a coincidence that all of this started on St. Patrick's Day? Sure, he's the patron saint of Ireland, but has anyone checked on who is the patron saint of new church buildings? Because every obstacle, every block that we faced along the way, miraculously, it became a blessing. And who would have known back then that the 6th time was the charm? But indeed it was. For on the 6th time, by mysterious and miraculous means, a lot as large, twice as large as any of the others that we had considered, a corner lot on the main street of King Concourse in Bay Harbor, well, it became available and it needed no variances, therefore no political approval. Literally, I believe it was a match made in heaven. But there was a catch. Of course, there's always a catch. To make this new promised land our future home, we, like the Israelites before us, we had to venture out into the unknown as nomads, as wanderers without a permanent home. Wandering from hotel to hotel, ballroom to ballroom, would we have the courage, the faith to take that leap? The answer was yes. For on October 25th in 2015, we voted indeed to take that leap of faith. And ever since, we have worshiped in hotels, reinventing worship and church programs so that they can be set up and broken down and packed back up in just a few hours. It's been exhausting. And the new challenges appear almost weekly. And then came COVID. Talk about a desert experience. We wandered again, this time online, from the ballrooms, completely reinventing worship and church once again. As long and difficult as this path has been, there have been many glorious mountaintop-like experiences of the divine, times when God has lifted us above and beyond whatever obstacles and hardships we have faced. These moments, these respites of grace, they've strengthened us for this journey we are on. Now, since that first task force meeting, St. Patrick's Day, back in 2010, it's been 10 years and 7 months and 3 days. But after all the talking and the planning, after all the dead ends and new beginnings, the prayers and the problems, the hopes and the hardships, something remarkable has happened. We've broken ground in our promised land, the land promised in exchange for leaving our old church home. Words of promise 10 years later have become pilings of concrete. Take a look. Amazing. Now, I told you all of that so I could tell you this. In our lives and in this world, there is always something that we want to escape from or leave behind, and there is always a vision, a hope of some promised land, a better place, a better way. The good news is that that journey is possible from one to the other, but we cannot make it merely chasing after mountaintop experiences, because the path from one to the other is in truth a marathon, and to run it, it will take great faith and courage. You see, it's an exercise in endurance, of keeping hope alive after disappointment, of keeping the faith when waves of doubt come over us, of walking when we feel we just can't take another step. There will be pain along the way. You will probably at some point want to quit. That was the story of the Israelites. It's the story of our new church building. And it is the story of every person of faith who steps out to create something or build something better upon a hope and a promise. But the good news is also you don't travel that path alone. This is what mountaintop experiences are all about. Blessed moments of grace and awe, moments of miraculous outcomes, of manna in the desert. As frustratingly brief as these may be or seem along the way, they remind us that God is with us. They refresh us with God's Spirit and vision and hope, and strengthen us for our journey, for the marathon. So, if this morning you feel as if you're in some never-ending desert or at some dead end, take heart. Keep faith. March on. Be ready for new, strange, perhaps, and unexpected paths to open up. Drink in the story of others before you who have endured in faith, who have reached their promised land, and so know from experience that God's promises are not empty. In fact, some are filled with milk and honey, others with pilings of cement, a foundation for generations to come. So what will your promised land be filled with? I hope you find out. Amen.
treasure thou art. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, O bright heaven's song. Heart of mine own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, still be my vision, still be my vision, O ruler of all.
Thank you, Nick. That was beautiful. Well, we have a tradition in our community. If you have a prayer concern, if you are ill or someone you know is suffering and is ill, please let us know. We have prayer shawls for those that are ill, and we're happy to send that to anyone in our community or beyond our community. If you have a celebration, we always list the birthdays of those that we know. If you have a birthday and it's not listed, or a birthday of a child that's not listed, an anniversary that you'd like us to acknowledge, these are times in which celebration as well needs to be lifted up and recognized. So let us know. Let us now join together in prayer. Holy One, on the mountaintop you appear, and as we learn of your desires, help us to live out these commandments, to be honest and faithful, to love you above all else, to love neighbor rather than to envy them, to seek Sabbath so that our spirits may soar. Holy One, in the valleys you appear, and we begin to realize how we need you and how we need one another. In our suffering, we can learn humility. We remember that we are interdependent. We see grace beyond our imaginings. In the valley, anger is turned to action. Patience and perseverance become the cornerstones of our faith. And hand in hand, hearts joined, we forge the road ahead, faithful, trusting, dependent on you, O God. Today, we offer our prayers to all who are ill, all who will need strength as they journey forward. In the quiet, we remember them. We offer prayers for all who lost homes and businesses or loved ones in the fires of California and in the hurricanes in the south. All who will need strength as they journey forward. In the quiet, we remember them. Please join with me in prayer. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think that I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. but I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope I have the desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire, and I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I may know nothing about it. Therefore, I will trust you always. Though I may seem to be lost and in the shadow of death, I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me to face my perils alone. Amen.
Whom have I in heaven but you? There is nothing on earth I desire besides you. My heart and my strength, many times they fail, but there is one truth that always will prevail. God is the strength of my heart. God is the strength of my heart. God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever, forever. Whom have I in heaven but you? Yeah, there is nothing on earth I desire besides you. Yeah, my heart and my strength, many times they fail, but there is one truth that always will prevail. God is the strength of my heart. God is the strength of my heart. God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. God is the strength of my heart. God is the strength of my heart. God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever, forever. Whom have I in heaven but you?
Thank you, Gabby. Last week, many of you joined us as we caravaned together, bringing wishes of love and care to several seniors. We beeped horns, we hung signs, we had balloons, and we enjoyed the company, even though all that company was a car apart, of one another and those that we waved to. Well, in speaking with some of the students who participated, they shared how uplifting the experience was because they felt that they were bringing joy to others, those who are most vulnerable in our community. Well, in order for us to bring that joy, to let others know that they are loved, we had to get a little creative and do a caravan. Well, feeding folks at Chapman, bringing school supplies forward for a blessing, working together to build a house for Habitat are all great challenges these days as we protect one another from spreading this virus. And so it's hard to help others in the more conventional ways that we as a church community are used to doing. And so desiring to help and to support one another has meant that we need to think out of the box. Since the pandemic, 1 in 6 Americans have lost jobs. And in Florida, you are eligible for a maximum of $275 per week for 12 weeks if you become unemployed. This totals $1,100 a month, and the average rent in Miami-Dade is $1,700 per month. Well, with your support, we have assisted many by providing food and some basic needs, school supplies, but in different ways this year. And in an effort to be of greater assistance, this October, we are collaborating with Greater Miami Society for Human Resource Management to offer re-employment workshops in both English and in Spanish. These workshops will focus on career exploration, job search strategies, networking skills, behavioral interviewing. And we need your help. We need your help to spread the word, to share this information with every individual and group that might benefit from their expertise in these workshops. So if you or someone you know is interested in being part of this, there is information on the screen and on our website, Facebook page, and Instagram. Share this. This is important information, and it is a wonderful way in which to collaborate with our community and to think and act outside that box. God creates from chaos. Even when we cannot see possibilities, God can and will guide us forward. So let's continue to find new and creative ways to share our blessings, our talents, our energy and ideas, so that others will see and come to believe that with God, all is possible. Let us pray. Out of the box you appear, God, and possibilities emerge, and creation is built from chaos, and a path is found and a purpose understood. May we always be a community who cultivates gifts and believes in the impossible. In this we pray. Amen. Let us now join in our closing hymn, Just a Closer Walk with Thee.
Just a closer
closer walk, just a closer walk, just a closer walk, just a closer walk, just a closer walk. Daily walking close to Thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. Let it be. Let it be.
Well, thank you. That was just wonderful. And hey, look what happened. After getting in God's presence, being open to new possibilities, the puzzle has been completed. But I have to tell you, it took more than 6 times. How many? I'm not going to say just right now. Let us now listen to the benediction song.
And wherever you go, may your bright sun follow you. And wherever you go, may your cares be few. And wherever you go, may the soft winds carry you through the clouds and the rain for the rest of your life. And wherever you go, may a song be sung for you. And wherever you go, may you be at peace. And wherever you go, may a gentle melody embrace your life as your joys increase. And wherever you go, may you know true happiness. And wherever you go, may you meet a friend. And wherever you go, may you find a loving heart waiting there for you at the rainbow's end. Everywhere you go, everywhere you go, may your cares be few. May your cares be few. May the soft winds carry you for the rest of your life.
Thank you to our choir for that beautiful benediction. And now let us listen to Manny as he leads us in our postlude. Have a beautiful and blessed Sunday.